Well, we're all in our places with bright, shiny faces after 1 year of a universal pandemic and what is probably as big a moment in history as any of us have lived through. So welcome. It's great to see everybody's face. Our chairman is absent today, so I'm serving in his place as vice chair. And we are beginning the May 10th Historic Zoning Commission meeting, and our charge tonight is to manage change over time to protect the historic resources of Franklin and Williamson County. So, of Franklin, excuse me, not Williamson County. And we are holding the regularly scheduled meeting in the City Hall boardroom on 3rd Avenue. And we are considering first the call to order. And do I have a motion to approve the April 12th, 2021 minutes?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
The minutes are approved as submitted. Are there any announcements from staff or any of the members of the commission?
Hi, everyone. I want to echo Mary's sentiment. It's so nice to see you all in person. It's been since March last year that we've all been in the same room together, and we actually have some new faces here, so I'm sure it's fun to be able to put an image to a voice. It is really, really nice to see you all. So thank you for being here. We do have a few meeting updates for you. The first is that we do have our regular scheduled design review committee meeting on Monday, a week from today, here in the boardroom, which I know is a slight change. That'll allow for some better social distancing. It'll take place at 4 o'clock. And then we also have a special called meeting on May the 24th, and that is a City Hall site visit to help the planning staff and the consultants assisting the city with the development of a new City Hall. So it'll be a site visit, and you'll meet on the plaza, which is right there between 231 Public Square and this building at 4:30 that day. So
It'll be at the courthouse plaza,
Oh.
just across the street.
okay, I thought you meant this
Okay.
one.
We'll be there at 4:30.
4:30.
I did announce that we were going to have a site visit at Harlansdale next week on the 18th. Unfortunately, we've had some scheduling issues, and so we'll need to reschedule that for another time. So feel free to just remove that from your calendar, and I'll be back in touch about that. We'll certainly hold it. I think it's a really important one. It's a really exciting project that we're working through, but that'll need to take place next month. We didn't want to overload you guys anyway. That's a lot of meetings.
Yes.
I don't have any other announcements other than just thank you all again for being here, and it's really nice to see you all. Do you have anything?
Well, thank both of you all for getting through this year with us. Are there any non-agenda items that anyone would like to discuss from the audience or staff? Any non-agenda items? You haven't gotten anything? And are there any citizens who wish to comment on anything not on the agenda? Okay. We will start with the certificate of appropriateness applications. The first, number 1, has been pulled from the agenda. Is that correct, Amanda?
Yes, the applicant has asked to pull and will be presenting a project at the June meeting.
Got you. Have they been invited or to the design review committee?
So the applicant for item number 1 did attend the design review committee meeting in April.
Are they coming back?
And they may come back.
Okay.
I have offered that to them. They
Gotcha.
may end up being at the June DRC. So
Okay.
I'm not quite sure, but I think their intent is to move forward with a June submittal to you all.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Item 2, consideration of alterations of the storefront at 415 Main Street, and Carrie Isle is the applicant. Amanda, do you want to give staff comments?
Yes, thank you, Ms. Chair. I do want to note that the applicant, Ms. Isle, is not able to be here today. The applicant representative is Shelley. She's in the audience today, and she'll be speaking on behalf.
Okay. Shelley's last name?
Forgive me. Shelley Kirkman.
Okay.
Right. The applicant is seeking a certificate of appropriateness for the alteration of the glass storefront windows into a storefront entrance at 415 Main Street. You can see that on the screen here. The applicant is also requesting approval of wall and window decal signage for the new storefront. The applicant did appear before the DRC to discuss the proposal at its April 19th meeting. I'm going to zoom in a little bit so you can see a little bit more. This is a great building with a great story. It's circa 1930. It's a two-story commercial brick building. It has a recessed entrance that you can see here with two large Tuscan columns on either side, and then replacement glass and metal door and display windows on either side. So historically, the building served as an automotive repair shop and featured open vehicle bays, so the cars would pull into these bays here on either side of this centralized entrance. Currently, the building maintains the central entrance as a shared vestibule for both businesses, one on either side. The business on the left still uses that vestibule. The applicant is seeking to create a new storefront at Main Street to serve their location on the right side. Since the window elements are not historic, the replacement is appropriate. The guidelines state that if new storefronts are required, one should maintain traditional designs and arrangements and restore remodeled storefronts to their original design or designs based on traditional storefront arrangements. The guidelines also recommend the use of a copper, bronze, or painted aluminum storefront, as well as the use of clear glass. I did research. I contacted folks to learn more about the historic appearance of the storefront, and since it has a unique story, it didn't always have an actual storefront. It was determined by staff to advise the applicant to model any proposal for a new storefront on a traditional storefront arrangement, not necessarily a historic storefront arrangement for this specific building, as it has evolved so much over time. So the applicant is proposing to utilize a metal storefront. I'm going to scroll down here so you can see. That matches the other storefront elements on the building. The applicant is seeking to have bulkheads that you see here, or knee walls that are metal with a minimal detailing that complements the existing elements on the building. And the applicant is also seeking approval for storefront signage, as you can see above the proposed storefront arrangement. I'm going to scroll in a little bit more here. So the wall sign consists of individual letters adhered to the building with spacers and is proposed to be centered over the proposed storefront entry. The lettering is black and metal and would be consistent with the guidelines. The guidelines state that wall signs should measure no more than 1 square foot per linear foot of width of the storefront, as this does, in order to maintain appropriate scale with the facade. The linear spacing is approximately 4 feet, which is appropriate, and the letters utilize studs that allow for a flush mount. The proposed window decal design, which I'm going to scroll down to on the next image, is down here somewhere. Right here. They are minimal in appearance and designed to use a lighter color for the decal. The guidelines recommend that one use a lighter color for the decal. These decals are proposed to be black, but due to the proposed spacing and location and size of the decals, the decals will not distract from the building facade or engross the window. So the proposed placement at the bottom of the windows, as you would see here and here, is appropriate. They are discrete and size small. So with that, it is recommended that the commission approve with conditions the proposed alterations in signage, with the conditions that the applicant work to place the studs for the individual letters within the mortar joints as to avoid damage to the faces of the brick, as recommended by the guidelines. And the applicant meet all the requirements of the Building and Neighborhood Services Department prior to issuance of a building and sign permit. And any additional changes return to staff for review and approval. Thank you.
Thank you. And the applicant, welcome.
I don't really have anything to add to that, but I'm here to answer questions if you have any.
Thank you. Are there any citizens who wish to comment on this project? Well, being none, we will, is there a motion to approve the application? And this includes the modifications to the storefront and signage.
I'll make a motion to approve with conditions the proposed alterations and signage with the following. With the, as recommended by staff.
Thank you, Lisa. Is there a second?
I'll second that, Madam Chair.
Okay, Brian seconds. Is there any discussion?
Just a quick question. There's no lighting involved in this application, correct? No.
I don't believe so.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
And the only thing, did you say, Amanda, a two-story building, just for the minutes?
Yes, I did a double take on that too. I
Okay.
checked with the National Register listing, and it listed as a two-story, and I was concerned about listing it as a one-story in the case that there was a
Not that I know of.
level up there
Yeah,
that I was
not that I
aware
know
of.
of, anyway. Okay, and so there's no amendments to the motion? This feels so weird. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Wow. We have been having to do roll call for a year plus. Item 3 before the Historic Zoning Commission is consideration of alterations, rear facade fenestration at 132 First Avenue South. Amanda?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The applicant is seeking a certificate of appropriateness for the alteration of the second floor rear fenestration at 132 First Avenue South. So that is shown on the screen here, and is the location indicated by the red arrow on the second level of the building. The proposed work includes the removal of one existing French door and 2 existing pairs of windows, and their replacement with a nano-wall folding system of 7 panels. The replacement will fit within the same approximate opening with brick and limestone trim proposed to be reused and reinstalled in the same layout and appearance. The guidelines recommend that one preserve and maintain historic windows in their openings and one not enclose, reduce, or otherwise obscure historic windows. The subject building was constructed in the 2000s and is therefore not a contributing resource within the Franklin Historic District. In the case of proposed alterations to non-contributing buildings, the alterations are reviewed in light of the guidelines, which specifically in how they relate, the proposed alterations would impact the character of the district and surrounding structures. The proposed reconfiguration includes and you can see on the screen here, the exact location, located here, includes the installation of a nano-wall, which is an operable folding window system. I believe some of you have seen that proposed on buildings at Jameson Station, just an operable folding kind of accordion style system. The design is proposed to look similar to the existing windows in the mullion pattern. Here are the existing windows and the color. As presented, the alteration of the fenestration pattern on the second floor rear facade is appropriate given that it lacks visibility from public view sheds and is not historic. The proposed windows are similar in rhythm and spacing and placement to those found elsewhere on the infill building. And overall, the proposal would not impact the character of the district or the surrounding structures. So with that, it is recommended that the commission approve with conditions the proposed alterations. The conditions being that the rear brick and limestone color, texture, and size match that found elsewhere on the same facade, and that the application meet all the requirements of the Building and Neighborhood Services Department prior to issuance of a building permit. Any changes would return to the preservation planner for review and approval. Thank you.
Thank you, Amanda. Ms. Pauline Pons, is our applicant.
Hi there.
Hi.
Nothing else to add? Question?
Thank you, Pauline. Is there a motion to approve?
Madam Chair, I move to approve the conditions certificate of appropriateness for the proposed alterations.
Thank you, Brian. Is there a second?
I'll second that, Madam Chair, this is Ken.
Okay. Is there any discussion? No discussion? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The motion is approved. Thank you.
Thank you. Nice to see you.
Okay, our next item is consideration of new construction at 143 Splendor Ridge Drive
Thank you.
in the Franklin Road Historic District. And Amanda, if you would like to go over.
Yes. Okay, good. Chad is here.
Bye.
Okay, the applicant is seeking a certificate of appropriateness for the construction of a two-story principal structure with a garage at 143 Splendor Ridge Drive, shown here on the screen. It's lot number 8. The applicant appeared before the DRC to discuss the proposal at its April 19th meeting. This application is similar to previous applications for Splendor Ridge in that it's located, behind Riverview, which is an existing historic residence fronting Franklin Road. This is an infill development that has been approved and has some conditions approved as part of its development plan and as part of a preliminary certificate of appropriateness that was issued by the commission at its April 2018 meeting. So with that, it is, there are height parameters, scale parameters. I won't read this all verbatim, but it is similar to what I've explained to you all in the past in terms of a maximum building height of 39 feet, that a maximum of 2.5 stories in scale would be considered by the commission. The guidelines recommend that new construction be designed to be compatible in massing, height, scale, proportions, size, and architectural features of adjacent buildings, and that new construction complement rather than detract from the character of the district. The applicant's proposing this two-story cross gable residence. It has some minimal Italianate detailing and a 3-bay covered porch. The single-story form, there is a single-story form proposed to the right of the porch here, and an attached garage is at the rear of the driveway. And I will go to this view so you can see that. This kind of sits on a curvature in the road, and so the driveway will align with the garage, even though the garage is turned slightly and isn't aligned exactly with the house. The 2-level porch that has been proposed in the past is also proposed at the rear of this building as well. As far as setbacks and placement, the guidelines would recommend that one reinforce and maintain existing setbacks of adjacent structures. This property is located within a newly platted subdivision where the setbacks are defined as 15 feet for the front yard, 5 for the sides, and 15 for the rear, which this meets. The applicant has provided this conceptual streetscape that you see on the screen in order to provide information on the building's placement in context, as well as information on the topography. There are some topographical changes at this overall development as it slopes toward the river and toward the back of the property. The grade change from sidewalk, as you see out here, to the building's finished floor elevation equates to approximately 6 feet. And in order to To mitigate that, the applicants provided this rendering to demonstrate how the proposed use of some tiered concrete risers, ground covering, I'll go back to this when you can see it a little better, and some landscaping will achieve a softer grade transition. If you recall, there were some discussions about using some retaining walls at this property. Unfortunately, that won't work out based on some utility easements and utility placement. So the applicant is mitigating with some transitional landscaping and ground cover. As for massing and scale, the building's proposed at 2 stories as viewed from the street, which is appropriate for the Franklin Road Historic District. The use of the single story element on the right, as well as the single-story porch in the front, help to soften the perceived mass and scale and the height. The guidelines would recommend that in areas where historic garages are generally detached, that new garages appear to be detached, and that is the case here. It is located behind the main form of the building and located so it appears to be detached, even though, as you can see on the floor plan here, it is attached at the rear. This configuration provides a more traditional appearance as the garage presents that detached view from the street. The height of the proposal is at what I determined based on the plan set provided to me, it'd be approximately 35 feet 4 inches. I think that Mr. Gord listed 36 on the application. Either one is consistent with the development plan's preliminary COA approval. The materials of the proposed construction are listed as a painted gray brick. Just wanted to note it is proposed to be a painted gray brick, not a standard unpainted brick. Cementitious lap siding of a 5-inch reveal of a color to match the painted brick. A smooth face cementitious panel. Those will be, I think that's just located actually at the box bay here on the right elevation. Asphalt shingle roofing and metal at the porch and box bay areas. Window specifications have not been provided specifically, but it's my understanding the applicant is using the same windows for every house in the development, and so I'll be looking at those as part of the building permit process. While paint colors are not reviewed by the Historic Zoning Commission, the guidelines do recommend that Italianate architecture utilize unpainted bricks or a light plant-based or soil-based shade of gray, yellow, or tan. The applicant is proposing to use a gray color. There is a photograph that was provided to you by the applicant that was at the top of your packet. That is not this house plan, but it is a color that's used on an Italianate home that was completed by the applicant's company. So that color is what's intended to be used on this house. The actual color specification is listed in the application as well. I know sometimes printers don't relay colors as well, so that is listed there, and I'm sure Mr. Gore can speak more to that if you'd like. The proportion and rhythm of the window openings are all consistent with the guidelines. The only concern that applicant needs, that staff needs to bring up for this project is the lot coverage. So the lot coverage is proposed at 38.1%. Trying to go back to the front here, which is not consistent with the recommendations of the guidelines. The guidelines recommend that residential construction not exceed 35% building coverage, which was defined as anything under roof. So it does exceed that by 3.1%. With that, staff recommends denial of the proposed construction as it does exceed the recommendation of the guidelines for maximum building coverage. If issued a COA, the window specifications would need to be approved by staff prior to issuance of a building permit, and any changes would come back to staff to review prior to those commencing. Thank you.
Thank you, Amanda. Mr. Chad Gore, did you want to speak to the application?
As usual, Amanda's presentation was appropriately thorough. No, I don't have any yet. Oh, I guess I'm obliged to remind the commission of our prior approvals of these of these have homes that are above 35%, but we early on committed to you guys to make sure we stay below 40%, so we have been doing that. But that's all I have to add. Thank you.
Thank you.
Happy to
Chair.
answer any questions.
Thank you.
Mr. Gore, would you mind just clarifying, just because I think it might come up, what the color, the exact color of the brick is proposed to be?
As in Sherwin-Williams such and such?
Yes.
Here, I'm gonna have to flip to it here.
I might have it right here, too.
Yeah, it's here.
That's right. I remember reading that and laughing.
Did you find it before I did?
What's the name?
Dorian Gray.
Yeah,
Okay.
Dorian Gray. Sherwin-Williams, 7017.
It is timeless.
And then the trim color
Same.
is same. Okay. Thank you. Is there a motion to deny or approve this proposal?
Mr. Chair,
Okay, thank you, Keith.
I move to issue a certificate of appropriateness for the proposed new construction based on staff analysis and recommendations stated May 10th, 2021.
Could you make a statement also of why you are going against the staff recommendation?
It's consistent with the decisions we've made on this development previously.
And also, I think there's quite a bit of open space in this development that we took into that consideration initially. Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, is there any discussion?
I have a comment, Madam Chair.
Yes.
I am not going to be able to support this motion. I do think what you're doing is really beautiful. I love the floor plans, I love the elevations, but because of the overage on the site, I can't support it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments?
I'm going to support it because we have supported these with the overage in the past. I know there's several more lots to come. I would just like to see something closer to 35 on the future, the future items. But I will support these.
Thank you. Any other discussion from anyone? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I would say to the applicant, if you'll just do something that really showcases the open space to make on the next applications. You've got a picture, but it's a little muddy.
Do you mean to present the development as a whole? to show
Yes,
people
sir.
the-
Just show one.
Thank
Yes,
you.
sir. Thank you. Okay, not on this, not tonight, but, yeah. We're not going to do that. Okay. And so our next item is consideration of, is it lot 8? Is that
It's lot 12.
lot 12? Okay.
Okay, so the applicant is requesting a COA for the construction of a single-family residence, 2 stories in scale at 143, which is lot 12. You can see that on the screen here. As you are approaching the development on the new, the extension of Parsons Place, it will be to the left of the intersection. I just wanted to note that the applicant was really thorough in providing these. Anything that's shown in gray has been approved by the commission, so you can kind of keep up as we move forward in reviewing all the houses in the development. The ones that have been grayed out are the ones that have been previously reviewed and approved by the commission. So with the Lot 12 proposal, all the previous preliminary COA approvals stand, and the applicant is proposing the construction of a 2-story cross-gabled residence with Tudor detailing. The single-bay entrance is recessed, as you see here. There is a 2-bay covered porch that flanks it to the left. You see better in this image here. The box bay is shown on the main body of the house on the front here, to the right of that recessed entrance. a single-story enclosed form. 2 is on the right side of the porch, that's what's on the last application. An attached garage is at the rear of the driveway. Its placement too is angled slightly to accommodate the lot shape, so it does sit on a slight curve in the road too, as you can see right here. So the driveway in the garage, as it's situated, will face the street, even though it appears slightly ajar here. Again, the setbacks are defined by the platted subdivision. I'll be 15 on the front, 5 on the sides, and 15 at the rear. This conceptual streetscape shows how the topography relates to the proposed infill construction. This particular lot doesn't have as much rise and fall as some of the others that we've seen. I'm going to go back to this. There is a lot more height here. We're starting on the downgrade as it goes back toward Riverview, and then it falls again going here. So this is kind of on the start of the fall as it goes back to the historic house. So the applicant's shown here how they're using tiered concrete risers, the ground cover and the landscaping to achieve a softer transition between the sidewalk grade and the finished floor elevation, which is about a 5 feet 5-inch difference. The scale at 2 stories can be supported by the guidelines as it is appropriate for the Franklin Road Historic District. Again, the garage is situated so that it appears to be detached, has a more traditional appearance. The height at approximately 37 feet is consistent with the development plan's preliminary COA. The materials are proposed to be brick. This would be an unpainted natural color brick, cementitious lap siding of a 5-inch reveal, smooth cementitious paneling with the half timbering here in the gable end. So it's not just on the front, it also goes over to the left and right side elevations, maybe on the back as well. No, so you can see on the left and right side elevations, and the body of the house changes to siding beyond that. There's also the use of asphalt shingle roofing on the entirety of the house, even the porch, with the small exception of that box bay on the very front, which will have a metal on top. So there's not a lot of slope there to accommodate anything else. The applicant has simplified the half timbering design on the residence as recommended by the design review committee at its April meeting. The coverage of the building in relation to the lot is 39.4%. This is not consistent with the recommendations of the guidelines as discussed previously. The overage is 4.4%. So while the application meets all the guidelines, with the exception of that, staff would recommend that the commission deny the proposed construction as it does exceed the maximum building coverage recommendations of the guidelines. If approved, the window specifications must be submitted and approved by staff prior to issuance of a building permit. The masonry must be of a historic mortar joint, size and scale, color, texture, and if issued a COA, those specifications must be approved by staff or the commission prior to issuance of a building permit as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Amanda. Does the applicant, Mr. Gore, have any comments?
Nothing major, just to reiterate our good discussion at DRC about how much tutor to tutor it with. And we did simplify the half timbering pattern a little bit, and also addressed a little bit. It was more rendered more on the left side to show how that elevation gets broken up a little bit by some. We added a window infill there and kind of showed where the downspout will come down, break up that elevation just a little bit. Other than that, I'm happy to answer your questions.
Thank you. There is no one in the audience, so I don't think we have any comments from the general public. Is there a motion to approve or deny the application 5, item 5?
Yep. I'll move to approve the issuance of a certificate of appropriateness for the new construction based on the staff analysis and recommendations dated May 10, 2021. And for the record, again, going against staff recommendations simply because we've set precedent in this neighborhood before, and it is under the 40%.
Thank you, Nick. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any, was that Brian? Okay. Is there any discussion or any amendments offered? Okay.
I
Then-
wanted to say I like the simplification that, and thank you for taking our comments into consideration.
Yeah, I think you were responsive. Thank you. Okay, we get to just say, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Thank you.
Thank you all. Good to see you all in person.
It's a good
Yes.
thing. Amanda did do some administrative approvals. Do you want to talk about those, Amanda?
I can if you'd like me to.
Okay.
Just a moment. I'm using the same agenda you are, so I'm gonna.
One
pull
is
up-
the rear elevation, number 1 at 99 East Main Street.
Okay, yes, so 99 East Main Street is a infill building that was approved at the intersection of the Harpeth River and East Main Street, where an applicant has attended previously to discuss his business, Mandu. The alteration that was approved administratively by staff was one that was discussed with the DRC previously. I would ask if there could be minor alterations to the rear storefronts, even the front storefronts, where it would not change the pattern or rhythm in any way. With infill construction, especially when it is speculative, sometimes there are changes requested to accommodate interior demising walls, and so that was the exact case here. So I did approve adding a door in where there had been a window. So it really did not change
Excuse me.
the experience of that building in any way. Otherwise, there was a sandwich board approved, and then an extension for a previous approval per the staff and commission COA extension policy. So the applicant for the historic Franklin Presbyterian Church did ask for a 6-month extension to allow for a previously approved columbarium to be constructed at that church location. So that'll conclude the approvals for the commission that staff approved.
Thank you, Amanda. And is there any other business, Kelly? Anybody? Any of you?
We'll just look forward to seeing you all for the site visit for City Hall. It's gonna be a really important discussion for us, and we're gonna look at City Hall and the site and the square and all of the historic buildings surrounding the site, so that you can provide us some much needed feedback on appropriate building setbacks for the square, and especially at Third Avenue and Church Street. So please be thinking as you go by downtown about what you kind of envision there, and then we can really have a conversation and site visit and walk Third Avenue that day. So we'll meet out at the plaza at the courthouse at 4:30 on the 24th. So we'll see you there. And next week, of course.
Thank you,
And
Kelly.
Kelly's taking the lead on that particular project because I will be on vacation at the time. So she'll be contacting you to send you information about that as it approaches. If you have any questions about it, you're always welcome to contact me. But Kelly is the one I'm entrusting you to for this one since I'm not here.
I think this is so exciting. I think right now we're sitting in the old Castor Knott's location. This was built as a mall during the hot days of the mall with very little visibility to the building from outside. So I think it's an exciting, probably once in many generations project. Thank you. I can't believe it, you all. This has been a very short meeting. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned. Thank you.